Gotta make a play here, man. Gotta
Tweak
make a
no.
play here.
He needs to get away from Leo. He needs to hold center, keep his feet on the ground. Leo.
Oh, wait a minute. That's not going to be down. Let's go, Tweak!
I was gonna ask the crowd
You know,
who they're looking for. but
Tweak's accomplishments in Ultimate are nothing short of phenomenal. He's literally one of the 2 or 3 de facto faces of American Ultimate. There's only 2 players, Light and Onan, I would say, who can even attest to having the near results as an American player in the scene. Not only that, he's got an Ultimate win under his belt, recent major wins, and one of the most crowd favorite players to win at all points. He's a master of multiple characters. He runs the Tweak Talks podcast, so he does content as well. He's just got a great brand behind him. The people love him. And so for even Tweak to be also dropped by TSM right after MKLeo, it begs the question, who's next? It begs the question as to whether or not a lot of esports orgs in general are losing faith in Smash, given the state of things, or if it's just a simple consequence of the amount of sponsors pulling out of the esports space in general. This is not limited to Smash, by the way. This is not what you're seeing here. Smash is not the only esport this is happening to. That should be noted. So, if you want my opinion, I do not think this will be the last of the Smash players to be dropped by an org. When you look at the longest standing players that were signed in Ultimate at this point, without Leo and Tweak, I'm thinking who else has been there for a long time. You go down the roster, right? I mean, you've got the Moist Boys, you've got Liquid the Buzz, you've got a lot of players that have become synonymous with their org, and vice versa. So you can't really blame orgs for dropping players if there is a disagreement on what they feel they deserve. When one org doesn't want to pay a certain amount for a player, there's one org that probably always will be able to. My prediction is that Leo will very, very soon be picked up by another org, probably with a juicy offer, and I could see the same for Tweak as well. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the overall downturn of Smash as a whole. I get the title of this video is that Smash Bros is in danger. It feels that way right now, and I'm sure everyone clicking this video can agree that this has been one of the shittiest weeks for the scene as a whole. And how can we forget that both of these news factoids were, of course, they're sandwiches to the meat of being that Beyond the Summit, just off my previous video, is no longer going to be around or hosting events for Smash or any other esport. There will be more drops. There will be more events that probably won't happen, but I don't necessarily think this is going to be like the end-all be-all for Smash Bros. These things happen. These tides ebb and flow. These shifts in the economy will happen. It's not the first time we've been through this, and if you want to stay positive and continue supporting your scene, I think that's the best thing you can do right now as an individual. Host an event if you want in your area. Host a local. Help out with making some content. Try and just help another player in your scene maybe get to the big tournament they want to go to. I understand that, you know, compendiums are usually like the safe and organized way to do that, but, you know, you don't need a compendium that's organized by a big event to, you know, help fundraise a friend or a top player from a region to go to like a tournament like Collision. Maybe they need help with a plane ticket or a hotel or a sponsorship. A lot of times, if there's no teams picking up players, sometimes the local community has to lift up those players if they really want them to go. We see it happen in droves for Summit because Summit is that big of a deal. But now, the next most important tournaments are probably going to be the ones remaining. The Big House, the Genesis, so on and so forth, SmashCon. So make sure you support your players, make sure you support your local scenes, and I will say don't treat this as like the end or the sign of doom of things to come. It's going to sting for a bit, but it always comes back up. And the reason I'm secure in the future of Smash isn't because of, I'm sure some, you know, angel investor comes and puts a lot of money into the scene. Well, that would be great. We know that that's not always the case at all. I'm confident in the future of the scene because of the viewership that we get. There, no matter what, is always so many eyes on people playing Smash Bros, especially compared to a lot of other esports. It is a very celebrated game. It's a very enjoyed game by a very wide audience. And when there is interested parties willing to take a risk on the players, willing to take a risk on the scene, they'll make actions. And with all of these players and now staff, organizers, media, you know, editors, there's so many free agents right now. It's ripe time right now, I think, for maybe a brand new org to really take some risks and try to become a new pillar in the Smash scene. It's not like there isn't anything to gain out of it. Of course there is. It just has to be done in the proper way. And I'm sure it won't be a matter of time before there's new players on the scene, both behind the TV and facing the screen as well. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below about the future of Smash. Let me know where you think things are going, and let me know what teams or orgs that you want to see get involved in the game that we haven't seen before. Of course, there's always been some new orgs as well. I think, you know, the FaZe picking up Spargo and so on. It's never too late. It's never too late to take a chance in the game, and there always will be people playing Smash Bros, even if there's not a single dollar given out in tournaments. That is the truth, and that's how it will be. So again, thank you for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
We'll look at the Final Fantasy 16 thing, okay? There's apparently a skill up video that people wanted me to look at. I played Final Fantasy and interviewed Yoshi P.
This video is sponsored by the all-new Red Magic 8 Pro gaming phone. If you play games on your phone regularly, this is basically the best phone you can get for that purpose. I know that sounds a little hard to believe, but if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll show you. Alternatively, you can click the link below to check it out for yourself right now. What is happening, nerds? Okay, so I've been teasing. I was in Japan last week for a very special, very secret reason.
Oh,
and the
so we
title
went
of
to
this
Japan
video
just
kinda
for
gives
this.
it away. But yes, I got to play Final
Looked like a lot of sloppy boxing. I
No,
wouldn't
it
say
was a great, and it was like
I mean, Tommy
tactical.
Fury's not a great boxer either.
Yeah, like neither
Bro,
one of them.
both
was
of
like-
them showed excellent boxing IQ and then started to make changes in real time. I
Not
was like
Jake-
so
not Jake so
impressive.
much.
No, but Jake did. The
thought
thing
he
is
did.
that Tommy had a fucking chin on him. So what happened is Tommy starts peppering Jake with his jab. Tommy's got like these really long arms. Like if you look at Tyson as well, he's got these like freakishly long arms. So Tommy was doing this thing, and this is the most difficult thing for Jake. Jake has like the nuclear bomb, is this big overhand right. So what he does is
Too predictable in this fight, though.
well,
Oh my God.
here's the thing. In order to land that big overhand right, he needs somebody to throw a jab. He needs to time the jab, slip it, and then come over. So but Tommy
kept hitting him with that.
kept
jab.
hitting him with the jab.
Yeah,
So he was
yeah.
taking, and the arms were long enough that even when Jake did land, it was coming right before him
Yeah.
or it hit his shoulder or whatever. So all of a sudden, I saw that immediately. I go, okay, this is gonna be tricky. Jake makes an adjustment. Jake starts slipping that jab and then throwing these big left hooks and lands. And he starts, but Tommy had a fucking chin on him.
I think
really impressed.
No,
man.
Tom
on that one where
Yo, he caught him a couple times.
Tommy definitely got a chin, but I also think that Tommy moving naturally as a boxer fucked Jake up.
Yes.
Because
And-
Jake's
and
not
the-
used to being in the ring with people who actually move.
And the distance that he kept. So like that boxing distance, maintaining that distance, staying right outside of the range, knowing when to come in. When you're a kickboxer, like when you're going up against guys who traditionally train in Muay Thai or kickboxing, there isn't movement. You stand kind of right in front of one another, and then you kick, they kick. It's like sock and bop them in a lot of ways. And it's not to say that they aren't skilled, but it's just a different style of engagement. So when Jake is going up against a guy like that who's going to stand in front of him, he can
It's
load
easy.
that fucking big right hand up.
When you're fighting NBA players and former MMA fighters
Jake-
who don't know how to move like a boxer in the
Jake
ring.
clearly beat Anderson Silva. Now here's the thing.
Anderson's not a boxer.
But he's had 8 fights or something
But
like that.
boxing
He's
is a
boxer.
sweet science, man.
Point is, I think this is the best thing to happen to Jake.
Why?
I don't.
I'll explain why. His stock was too high for the money fights. The money fights for Jake, in my opinion, are not fighting real boxers. The money fights for Jake are fighting celebrities.
Oh, I agree.
So when he beat Anderson Silva and convincingly and dropped him, after that I go, I don't think KSI can beat him. And KSI is the big money fight. Him losing to Tommy, who's a boxer, but he's not a fucking top-ranked boxer by any means.
not at all.
So him losing to Tommy makes all the other celebrities that also box go, oh, I might be able to beat that motherfucker.
Stay in your lane, Jake. Fight the celebrities. I already told you this.
Celebrities or the MMA guys. So I look at this and I go, okay, if he beats Tommy, if I'm KSI, I'm going, I'm not fighting this motherfucker. This guy's a legit, amazing fucking boxer. He just beat a guy who's dedicated his life to boxing, okay?
Sort of.
No, Tommy's boxed his whole life.
Yeah, but
he
I
grew up in a boxing
Now he was a
family.
reality star.
You can
He was
be
on
a
like
reality star
He was on
and also...
Lake Flaccid or some shit like that. What was that shit called?
I don't know.
He was on some
Love Island. Love
Yeah.
Island. Lake Flaccid is hilarious. But so I guess what I'm saying is like you take a guy like Jake, and now you go, even when Jake beat Anderson Silva and convincingly, I was like, I don't think Nate Diaz can beat Jake. I think Jake has these MMA fighters' numbers. I don't think that that's actually a good fight. Now that he lost to Tommy, I start going, ooh, this Nate fight is interesting. This KSI fight is interesting. And those are the lucrative fights.
So you're saying if he beat Fury, he would have gone from a celebrity who boxes to a boxer in our eyes.
Yeah, because he finally beat a real boxer.
And then he can make real money off is like, I'm not fighting
And then he
a
could only
boxer.
fight real boxers, and then he'd have harder fights for less money. So he'd have to fight a Canelo.
No, I think he'd still beat a draw. He'd still generate mad
the
money.
The draw for Jake is to watch him lose. It's very similar to Mayweather. He's positioned himself as a heel, right? And it's an incredibly difficult thing to do emotionally. Like you're just dealing with hate non-fucking stop. Like his like resilience emotionally handling this, like
I love the way he lost.
Bro,
he owned that shit.
He said judgment by the
Now, don't get me wrong. He did throw out a couple of ailments. You know what I mean? He was like, oh, I got a hurt arm, and I was something else. Like, he named like 3 things, but I'm like, for the most part, he was like, don't judge me by how I win, judge me by how I lost. I like the way he handled it.
I'm just saying,
like the way he handled it.
career-wise, making money-wise, this is the best thing. I don't need to see a rematch with Tommy. Like, I don't care about it.
Nah.
I know he might care about it for ego, but I don't care about it.
Nah.
What I want to see him do is fight KSI or Nate Diaz. You beat KSI, then you fight Nate Diaz. You beat Nate Diaz, you rematch Tommy, and ideally Tommy has kind of like increased his profile by having other legitimate boxing fights as well. You have one more big one near.
And it's not like he got his ass kicked. You know what I mean? It went 8 rounds. He dropped him. You know what I mean? He just got outboxed.
Yes, he got outboxed.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like there's not any basic boxer can beat Jake Paul.
Well, that's what
Especially in the cruiserweight division.
That's what they're going to claim, right?
That's what I think. I believe that.
And it's reasonable to think it, but that's what they're going to claim. They're going to claim, okay, he finally fought a boxer, and someone who is skilled in boxing specifically, not MMA, but boxing, is going to be able to beat him.
Every time.
And that's what they'll probably say, right? But in my mind, it's like, you're in this for money, right? You're not in this to prove that you're a fucking boxer.
Depends. If his goal is to be a great boxer, which he said that's his goal, then it impacts his overall.
I think the more you win, the more you think is possible, as you should. So as he's beating all these MMA guys, he's like, yo, I think you gotta take a boxer. Maybe this was God's way of being like, bro, save your brain and just go fight KSI.
Yeah.
And go fight celebrities.
Yeah.
You're too late in this boxing game.
Yeah.
What I hated is like all the, it finally dawned on me why they were riding for him so hard. Like Sean Porter was really riding for Jake Paul.
Yeah.
But it's because they're both from Ohio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they kept saying things like, he's finally out of Tyson Fury's shadow. No, you're not, Tommy. Tyson Fury is the heavyweight champion of the fucking world.
Yeah.
This man has been in the ring fighting wars. Okay? You beat Jake Paul. You're still in your brother's shadow.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's a great shadow to be in.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be like you'd have to do triple what Tyson Fury has done in his boxing career to get out of that shadow.
It's not bad to be in the shadow of arguably the greatest heavyweight ever.
Come on.
Yeah.
A guy who got knocked out by the hardest puncher in the world multiple times and won.
Knocked down.
Yes.
But
got up.
Yeah.
And then the next 2 fights wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Third fight was more decent than the second fight.
Yeah.
But come on, like, stop.
Are they full brothers?
I think it's
look
half.
nothing like.
Yeah.
I think the father
dad
got another.
Got you.
I think.
Tommy was in good
Well, I
shape,
think we're
man.
assuming, but yeah, it makes sense.
Tommy was in good shape, yo.
Yeah,
Like, and
he was.
I'm like, as soon as I'm like, oh, Tommy's gonna beat Jake Paul.
Yeah, in that first round.
I didn't think it was gonna be a knockout, but I just like, yo, he's gonna beat Jake
Well,
Paul.
I don't know if this applies, but I remember one thing Andrew said about Anthony Joshua. All those big muscles get you worn out quicker because they need a lot of oxygen. And Tommy has some big motherfucking muscles.
Anthony Joshua was never that good. I told y'all this a million times. Nice guy, great guy. I've never believed in Anthony Joshua as a fighter, ever. I believed that at the time. I feel like even before he got to Usyk, you know, and what's the other dude who beat him? Can't even remember his name now. Anthony Ruiz.
Oh, yeah, Andy Ruiz.
Andy Ruiz.
Yeah.
Before that, I thought Deontay would have beat Anthony Joshua. I thought Ortiz would have beat Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah, come on.
Not even close.
Come on, you wouldn't even want that.
Yeah.
Why did they have a smaller ring? What was the purpose of that?
I don't know who wanted that.
Tommy
wanted it.
Tommy wanted it.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because I think that actually benefits Jake. Because Jake's not a dancer. Jake is coming straight forward. He's coming at you. He wants to engage. So Tommy is more of like a boxer. So you would think that he would want more room so he could dance. But if he wanted the smaller ring, it means he wants to get in there and bang.
Right.
You know, what I hated about the fight was the fucking referee trying to be the MVP. I hate a referee that wants the attention.
Bro, it's you know you're fighting two people that don't have that much experience. Why are you, like, let them go a little bit?
I thought that neither one of them did anything that was flagrant. Like, yes, maybe there was some leaning. Yes, there was some holding, but no more than you would see in every
I didn't see it
average
either.
fight. Just break them up.
Yeah, I
Don't
didn't
take
see
away
it.
the point.
Yeah, that
I
was
think
too
it's
much.
stupid.
Yeah, that was
And they
stupid.
did it for both of them, so I guess it evened out. But, like, I hate a referee that, like, makes it about them.
I think that was a makeup deduction. I think he
Maybe it
fucked
was.
up deducting Jake's point, and then he was like,
But
"What?"
why are you deducting anything from them? Let them bang out. Like, who gives a fuck?
I thought the fight was great. I thought it was a really
entertaining.
great fight.
Listen,
you gotta watch it.
Yeah, I gotta see this.
I have not
watch
been
it.
disappointed by Jake Paul.
Because they both made adjustments. Like, Jake was getting caught with a jab, and all of a sudden, Jake started to stick this long jab, and then he started catching Tommy, right? And then Tommy made this adjustment where he noticed that Jake was really, like, ducking when he would throw the jab. So Tommy would throw this uppercut as Jake would duck, and it was like, I was seeing, like, really high IQ boxing. It's hard to go in there and worry about getting your fucking head caved in while also going, okay, he's doing this thing. I'm going to change my game plan and do that thing on the fly. And they both did it.
Jake got a lot of Mexican in him, bro.
He does.
I'm serious. Like, because I watched the last fight. Last fight, he got winded. Who was the last fight? Silver, right?
Yeah.
You could tell he got tired, but he gets better
But he was
as the
throwing.
fight goes on. Like, it's almost like he gets stronger, and he be looking like red, hair all over the place, but he just don't stop working,
No,
bro.
he
Like,
went after it.
I'm
He's a dog. Yo, Jake's a dog.
He's a Mexican. He got a lot of Mexican fight in him, yo. He do. He
Jake's
got a
Mexican.
lot of Mexican fight in him, yo.
100%.
Canelo will knock him the fuck out, though.
Huh?
Canelo will knock him the fuck out.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to fight.
No. Leave that alone. Leave that alone.
Yeah. But we don't want to see that. Like, I want to see the KSI fight. That has so much build-up
I thought
already.
they fought already.
No. KSI fought Logan twice.
Oh, okay.
So this is the get back. And I think that KSI watches that, and now maybe it brings Jake back to reality a little bit. Whereas before, after that Silva fight, if I'm KSI, I'm going, I do 10 other fucking projects.
Yeah.
This is a part-time gig for me, and this guy's dedicated full-time to fucking boxing. I can't compete with that. But maybe now.
I think Tyson Fury should fight Logan.
He called me. He's like, "Hey, Ralph, this is George, man. George Lopez." My first words was like, "What the f?"
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Flagrant. And today, we are sitting down with the new voice of Cats and Dogs. George Lopez has been replaced by Ralph Barbosa. Cats and Dogs 4. Ralph is the new, I'm assuming it's Chihuahua. Maybe it's a different dog. I'm not exactly certain. Ralph, why are you stirring up so much shit
Yeah,
with the
bro.
OGs, man?
La Raza, why are you doing that, dude?
Yeah. Pocos pero locos, Wayne.
There's this like, oh my God. This is like saying like a Mexican's worst enemy is another Mexican.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and it's true. I don't like these Mexicans.
Wait a minute.
Bro, we agree on so much, bro. Come on, bro. Come on.
Okay, listen, obviously there's this beef everybody's going around. I don't even know if it's beef.
I don't think so.
Nah, this shit's
I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
it was fine.
Thought it was fine for real? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you did put a video out where you were killing him.
Yeah. I put out the edited version. I have a director's cut.
Oh.
I just thought it was funny because I like that movie, like Carlito's Way.
Yeah.
And I like the thought of like taking out the old dudes. But the reason that I put that video up was because I just started being on the road, and every now and then somebody would be like, "You're the next George Lopez." Even before this George Lopez thing, my response was already like, "Yo, fuck George Lopez."
Oh, really?
Whenever somebody would yell that from the audience, or any Latino comedian they'd throw out, whoever their idols were, I was like, "Fuck your idols." But when that thing came out, I was just like, "Oh, this is perfect. This is like what I've been saying."
Yeah.
was that a real sentiment, or just I'm trying to get a laugh on stage when they say it? Or was your brain really like, yo, I'm coming for it. Fuck all these guys.
Nah, I wasn't really like coming for them. It's just that when they would name them, I'm like, I don't know, like.
Sometimes it's a funny thing to say on stage.
Yeah, it's a funny thing to
Fuck
say.
that guy.
I just think it's funny that they're just like assuming I like looked up to George Lopez.
That's
or
the
something.
thing I want to ask you when you came up, because you're 26.
Yeah,
I'm 39.
yeah,
And I felt I was young when I was watching George Lopez.
yeah.
So,
I wasn't watching.
I don't think you ever grew up watching him.
Even when I was watching them, I was like, I don't get it.
Oh, come on. Nah, that motherfucker's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hate, bro. That's hate, bro.
It was good. That was good hate. You gotta give it up for good
That's
hate.
hate.
Yo, watch you got your chain on here.
Wait, you
Yeah,
didn't think he was funny?
I like, yeah, he's funny, but I didn't think he was like. I'm not like gonna like, yo, man, I want to watch this George Lopez like special, or like, oh, the fucking show's gonna come on. Like, I would hear people quote him all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, I gotta see that one day. And then when I did
can't breathe.
see it, I'm like, yeah, it's
I
like,
can't breathe. That was so funny.
My chest.
yeah, like that. I don't know.
Next level of hate. I love it.
Comedy, now this is what it is. It's like comedy, you need comedy within the context of time, because this is how I felt about Pryor, because I saw Eddie first. So everybody would tell me, oh my God, Pryor's the truth. He's the greatest ever. And I grew up on Eddie. So when I saw Pryor, I was like, nah, he's not fucking with Eddie.
Yeah, I feel that.
This feels like, I know it's like blasphemy to almost say, this feels like a less funny version of this guy who is the king
Yeah,
for
comedy
me.
evolves with time.
So you're coming up, and also comedy changing. Like, I imagine when George was putting out that first special, this is the first time Mexicans are seeing a guy relate and share their experiences in a comedic way, especially on fucking HBO. So they're seeing other guys, they're seeing Rock, they're seeing Carlin, they're seeing all these other dudes, and finally it's like, oh shit, yeah, he's talking that thing that I've experienced. Whereas you're watching it and you've seen all these jokes played out for 20 or 30 years by different people, different versions. So if you go back to it, you go, yo, there's better versions of all these takes.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
Like
I wasn't like huge into stand-up growing up though. Like,
yeah.
and if I was watching stand-up, I was watching whoever came on TV around that time.
Yeah.
So it was like Comedy Central. So it was a lot of like Chappelle's thing, or like Patrice O'Neal's like special, like reruns of their like type of stuff, or clips or whatever. And by the time I did see like a George Lopez clip or something like that, I just remember he kept saying like stuff like, Latinos, you know us. And I like, that was like the corniest line in the world to me. For anybody to say like, you know us, man.
Yeah.
We get down. Or like, this is like, I don't know, I couldn't get into it.
To
You
his
know what I mean?
point-
So not saying it's not funny, I just couldn't get into it.
Yo,
Like,
I'm George Lopez side now. Fuck these young kids, bro.
No, but this is
And George does say that in the podcast.
I started. It's almost like when young dudes look at the rap OGs, and the rap seems so simple, and they're just a hip hop, a hip it.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you're just like, what the
that's
fuck
what
are
I'm
you
watching.
doing?
Yeah, that's what it feels like I'm watching George.
Yes,
yeah.
but at the time, that Dr. Seuss shit was fire.
I bet.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not to say he's not funny. Like, yeah, he's funny as fuck. It's just like I'm not gonna watch him.
To his point, you were like 3 when the George Lopez show came on the air. You were like 5 or 6 when the special came up.
Yeah.
So that thing back then, to his point, it's like when Indians, when we saw Russell, I'm old enough to like see the beginning. I really felt exactly like what he said. Like, yo, we've never heard anybody talking to us. Holy fuck, I'm so happy. This is so funny. Young kids coming up now watching that are gonna be like, yo, there's 100 Indian comics. This one, he's doing this simple thing. It's like, no, back then, that was it. That was the only thing.
Yeah.
And George, back then, nobody was talking to them. So
Like
you're
George
watching
was a
15,
Mexican
16.
comedian.
Yeah.
You're a comedian that's Mexican.
Okay, I see it. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you needed a Mexican comedian.
So that I could be a comedian that's Mexican.
Yes.
All right.
You know, because you're not going up there like, I got to tell you everything about being Mexican today. You ready?
Yeah.
Somebody
You
already
know-
told him.
You know us Mexicans.
Yeah. Now I do, actually. Now I do. After George Lopez, now I get it.
That's why you don't have to, because now we know. Dead ass. We're like, we know Mexicans now, because George Lopez taught us.
Nah. He's like nice. I'm telling you, the dude called me after that whole thing he said. Where he like, I wasn't mad when he said it.
Yeah.
Cause like I'm telling you, like I have like a whole lot of respect for him still. I'm not when he said it, I'm not like, what the fuck, like hurt about it. But I also wasn't like, oh yeah, who cares? It just was like, it's a fucking podcast. You're talking shit. Like,
Yeah.
So what if he said it? You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't know me, so like, it's his.
He knows you, my boy.
But it's his podcast. Like,
You don't say I don't know somebody 5 times unless you know.
Yeah, unless you know. But yeah, he called me and he was like super cool. I was kind of like starstruck by it, to be honest, because I wasn't expecting it. But,
How did he call it? Was he like no. Tell me about the call. What
he
happened?
was just like, he's like, hey, Ralph, this is George, man, George Lopez. I was like, I want her to call and apologize. And my first words was like, what the fuck? And I was like, my bad, man. I didn't mean to be like rude or nothing. It just like, damn, it kind of caught me off guard, you know, that he's even calling me. And he was just like, yeah, man. He's like, I was kind of like in the heat of the moment with her, just kind of shooting the shit with Trevino and kind of fired up about it. But I didn't mean to like talk badly about you or anything like that. Like just kind of talking shit, you know? Like, but I apologize. I was like, you didn't have to, man. I was like, I appreciate that a lot. Like, you really didn't have to, you know? It's not like bugging me like that. He was like, no. He's like, I did. I had to, whatever. He's like,
That's decent, though, that he didn't do a public apology.
yeah, I wouldn't have. I don't think it had to be public at all. A lot of people online were like, hey, fucking, you slander him in public, you apologize in public. Like, nah, bro. Like, then it would have looked like he's just doing it for the
them,
people.
not for you.
Yeah, he was just like, comic to comic, man to man. He's like, I just want to apologize, man.
Yeah.
He's like, and you got my number. If you ever did need help with anything, you got my number now.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool as fuck.
You gonna take him up on that? See if he's about it?
I'll probably wait till I'm like in a really tough jam.
Yeah.
Murder trial. I'm like, yo, about that time. Bro. He was cool. It's that Steve Trevino guy. I'm starting to think he's the bad guy.
It is weird with the OGs. I think that like, and again, you're a few generations away from George, but I think the perception of the people that we look up to is, for at least from us, you know, like with me, Patrice is my guy. And whenever I had the opportunity to interact with him, like I almost removed myself from it because I was like, I don't want to inconvenience him. I don't want to ask him for help. I don't want to ask him for things. Like, and probably they're twofold. It's like, one, I don't want to be rejected by someone I admire so much. And also like, he could never have time for me. But I think we forget that like, they're also comics despite their success. So they're also looking for some validation, some appreciation, especially from like the next crop. So they would probably love if we reached out. And love if we're like, yo, can I just get any advice? Is there anything, you know, I'm about to experience something you experienced earlier in your career, et cetera. And yeah, like I guess maybe, yeah, I don't know if you've ever felt that way about like an OG that you looked up to. Nah, you got it, huh?
Nah, it's not that. I think I like taking advice from whoever, man. Like,
Yeah.
I do get what you mean, though. It's like, yo, I've looked up to this person. I don't want to like risk pissing them off or like being told something that's gonna put me off to them.
Yeah.
But I didn't really start admiring a lot of the comedians out there until I got a chance to meet them personally. Then I was just like, yo, this dude's actually really cool. Or like, this person's super funny and stuff. And then they started kind of helping me out. So I kind of went in like neutral. Like, I didn't. There wasn't anybody who was like, oh shit, I get to work with this person. Or like, I hope they give me advice.
Yeah.
I just kind of kicked back and was just like, man, whoever I get to work with, I'll work with them. If they kick advice, they kick advice. Like,
Yeah.
I'll take it from whoever, you know?
I don't know the situation, but my assumption of it is a lot of times when people try to relate to a comedian, they talk about other comedians that are funny. And that's the last thing a comedian wants. Like, don't tell me this other motherfucker's funny. So I'm imagining George is getting a lot of people, they're trying to curry favor with him, going, yo, have you heard about this young guy? You like this young guy? So he's hearing this nonstop, and now he's on his podcast, another guy's bringing it up, and he's like, yo, what the fuck is going on over here? I'm George, let's talk about me.
Maybe. I do know, like, at the beginning of that podcast, they were talking about Paul Rodriguez, I think.
Oh, yeah.
He had, like, some beef with Paul Rodriguez. I don't know what it was.
I think they got into it over a joke. I think they fought at the Laugh Factory.
Yeah, and then he was saying how like, I think people wanted him to, like, apologize to Paul or for talking shit about Paul. He was just like, it's like, what do you say? Like, it's a fucking podcast. Like, just talking shit, man.
Yeah.
And then, so, I don't know. They went onto the subject of, like, do you help the younger guys? And George was like, I don't help nobody.
Yeah.
And then
he was probably like a little fired up.
Yeah,
from that previous
yeah.
time.
That's one of the reasons that it didn't bug me is because he was already like proving the like I don't fucking help people.
Yeah.
Like fuck him, fuck. I feel like they could have named anybody and he would have been like fuck that guy.
Yeah,
I think he also at one point, if you look, I have heard he's not the most helpful guy, to be fair.
I have also heard that. Yeah.
Three-dimensional about it, but there's also a moment where he looks off camera and asks his homie, like, you heard of this guy? And the guy says no, and I think he's laughing at George. George looks at him and like lifts his eyebrows. Every comic knows we got a guy going off camera, we gotta fucking go. So then he goes, I don't know, fucking Jeremy Barbasol or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think he's just trying to make his homie laugh and he's wrapped up in it, and he's got the emotion. But
Yeah.
like, I think he just feels like he got a guy laughing.
Yeah.
Let's build momentum.
Yeah, I don't think it was that personal. I think it was very much like whoever it could have been. My name is arbitrary. Is that how you use
You
that?
really stumbled on it, dude.
Yeah. I almost thought that's what your name was. When you were saying that, I was like, yo, arbitrary, it's great to meet you.
And also, word could have got back to him. Like you said, people would say at your shows, like, oh, you mentioned George Lopez. And you're like, fuck George Lopez. And maybe word got back to him. And now he's like,
yo, that's true.
Word is youngest popping, you know?
Yo, that is true.
But my defense would be the same, like, I don't know, it's talking shit.
Yeah, it's a show. It don't fucking matter.
Yeah. If it's like really getting to anybody, I think they would have like told me something personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think he's heard about it. I don't think.
Have you met comics before?
I probably said that once, like in Detroit or like Milwaukee, where they were like, "You're the next George Lopez." I was like, "Man, fuck George Lopez." Like, "You're the next Paul." I was like,
Oh, it gets back to them, bro.
Yeah? There's some guy in Milwaukee writing a letter like, "Boy, you're not gonna believe what I
They
heard
just
today."
hear it, man, and they just get upset. They're sensitive too. You don't think they are. You like I had a fuck, and I'm glad that you don't look up to him because it does.